Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Real to Real Talk. I am Sergio Barrera, and it's time once again to talk about all things movies. Joining me, as always, is our other Real to Real talker, Paul Britton. Paul, welcome.
We're gonna have a good time.
It's that time of year again.
Yeah.
When we talk about one of the most perplexing franchises in movie history.
Yes. How did this happen?
Seriously, we get to talk tonight about. I mean, I was going to jump right to our little banner here, and we're going to talk about Fast 10, Fast X, whatever it's. I don't know how it's supposed to be said. And talk about our review, but we're going to do it in kind of a unique way because last year was Fast 9, right?
Yeah, no. Was it called Fast 9? It was called F9, the Fast Saga. Come on.
Oh well, forgive me. It all starts with the Fast and the Furious, and then we get to Too Fast, Too Furious. Come on.
Yeah. So, it started with the Fast and the Furious, and then
of the Furious. Yeah.
Too Fast and Too Furious.
Yeah.
And then Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift.
Yeah.
And then I think it was Fast and Furious, right?
The Fast and the Furious.
No, just Fast and Furious. The first one was the Fast and the Furious. Fourth one was Fast and Furious.
No, the fifth one was Fast and
No,
Furious.
The fifth one was Fast 5.
I'm looking at it right here.
Yeah, the fifth
one. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, my list is garbage. Give me a second.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Fifth one was Fast 5. Sixth one was Fast and Furious 6. Seventh one was Furious 7.
Wow.
By the way, I'm reading I'm just looking at a thing.
Sure.
The eighth one was the Fate. Get it? 8.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Of the Furious. The ninth was F9, the Fast Saga, and the 10th one was Fast X.
Regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here we are, and so our intent was to talk through our thoughts on the previous movies that led us to where we are today. But I feel like I'd like to make a comment about Fast 10 that I think for me, after I saw it, really solidified for me why I was glad to take a moment to walk through the franchise. Because let's face it, you and I have had to endure some movies to get through this series.
Yeah.
And one of the things that stood out to me about this film, Fast 10, is that it seemed, and I'm not going to say it was accidental, I think that this movie, Fast 10,
Fast X.
Fast X, sorry, whatever. Fast X.
If you're going to misname things, I'm just going to leave.
I must be careful.
I'm sorry.
I don't think its self-awareness was accidental, because so much of this film was a haha, look at what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, if it was accidental, then God damn it. Like,
yeah, I think the complete and total lack of self-awareness in F9 made it have to do something.
I literally had to ask myself in the midst of this movie, is this intended, to some degree, intended parody of this franchise?
Yeah.
But purposefully by the filmmakers, because so much of it was like, what in the world is happening here?
Right.
Okay. Right. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but
sure.
But there's some things that we got to talk about that make me go, in the area of where we land with this franchise, where it's setting up its finality, you know, eventually.
Ostensibly,
yes.
Although this movie, by the way, clearly made it clear that this is never going away and it's never ending. But we'll talk about that in a minute.
Sure.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
So as I sat there watching this movie unfold, I was thinking about what we were going to talk about, and I thought, I'm a little bit annoyed by the fact that I don't get to be the first to make fun of it because it's making fun of itself. Is my thought.
Okay.
So let's look back.
Okay.
Let's look back at and
how
when
we got to where we are.
Yeah,
If we can't
because
remember what these movies are about.
here we are, 2001. This is now what, 22 years ago,
Or
where we get the first installment of the Fast and the Furious.
right.
That could very well have that could easily have been a standalone film. Okay.
Sure.
I forget where you land on this film. I think you like it.
I don't hate it.
Okay.
I'm gonna go to my letterbox just to see what I gave it. But yeah, I did the first one. So I did hate it. Okay, that's right. I remember I actually did hate the first one, and here's why. Because none of it makes any sense. Like my problem with the first one is, and this is something that they correct starting with, I believe, the fourth one. But the problem with the first one is that we're supposed to somehow believe that this person who ostensibly wants to be a federal agent and has done something in his life to warrant being in that position is going to go undercover with just the dumbest people on the planet who also happen to be criminals. Let's not pretend like they're Robin Hood or anything like that. They're literally criminals, but they just happen to do street racing. Right. And their whole thing is just like the draw of this one person is so big that he draws the agent in, and it's like it's so paper thin and so one dimensional that I like right off the bat I was like, no, this doesn't make any sense.
Well, and again, I think it's because I get what you're saying completely, because when I rewatched this movie, the year of F9, I as you know, I rewatched the entire series,
right?
And upon rewatching the Fast and the Furious, I remember thinking to myself, this is what a formulaic action movie is all about. And so, of course, it's going to have a paper thin plot and, gaping holes and stuff, but it's not about the plot. It's about the action, right? And thus begins what is going to be one of the running tropes throughout the entirety of the series that is going to get us to a point where it just becomes about the action, because so much else of it is just so poorly done.
Right.
And so, I don't remember disliking the Fast and the Furious. I know I enjoyed it upon rewatch, but I also was looking at it from the lens of like, okay, I mean, it's a fun action movie, but that's about it. There's not a lot here in terms of substance, but there shouldn't be. It's an action movie.
Right.
So I can't be mad at this one.
Okay, I felt like it was off to a bad start. Like,
yeah, oh no, sure, sure.
For me, it was off to a bad start. It's just there has to be something compelling about the character that is supposed to be compelling.
Right.
The federal agent to basically break his oath, and there just isn't. Like there's literally nothing interesting or compelling about Vin Diesel. Like nothing at all.
Right. And the whole, again, for me, the whole thing here is there are movies, and I'm going to comment tonight. There are movies in the series that infuriate me. And this just was one of the ones that didn't cause me to have any sort of negative emotion afterwards.
Okay.
And again, that's good in my scale of things in this franchise.
Because then we come to 2. And...
Oh my God. Oh my. See, this is where this franchise was supposed to fall apart.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
you don't bring back.
Let's be honest. Absolutely. Oh, well, this is the beginning of what was going to be a long demise. Because 2, you failed to bring back Vin Diesel,
right?
Who was the hallmark of the first film,
right?
And I remember literally having zero interest in going to see this in the theater. I didn't see this till years later.
Yeah.
This is what, 2003?
Remember, I didn't see any of them until after this podcast started. Like,
that's right.
I was out from 1. Like, I was just like, yeah, this
from the outset.
Yeah.
But I just remember distinctly going, if you're not going to pull back Vin Diesel, come on, why am I going to waste my money?
Right.
And so Too Fast, Too Furious introduces, Roman Pierce, the character Roman Pierce, Taye Diggs. Yeah. And we're supposed to think that, okay, this is going to be what carries it, but oh my goodness. Again, still not one that makes me mad, but it's like, yeah, this is your Wish.com version of the Fast and the Furious.
Right. Yeah, and with an even more implausible, okay, the federal agent is back to being a federal agent, but still wants to do illegal. It's just like, are we seriously redoing this whole thing? And they were seriously redoing the whole thing, except now he's not even like hiding the fact that it's like, you have to assume that the federal agents are just the dumbest people on the planet.
Right.
So, you know,
I mean,
which is fine, except that he's also not that smart. So that's part of the problem, is that, yeah. So do you have a Too Fast, Too Furious banner, or are we just, or okay, never mind.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just,
that's okay.
I'm so wrapped up in
yeah.
So sorry.
That's okay.
Why don't I do this? Just I thought I'd be able to keep up, but
okay.
Why don't we just do this franchise?
Okay, there you go. Franchise recap.
Yeah. Oops. There we go.
Yep.
And so so two, I'm going back over just sort of the synopsis of it, and I just remember thinking to myself, nothing really stood out to me in this film, and I didn't think at the time of seeing it again long after it came out. I was like, this is where this series really could have just died.
Yeah,
because you're failing to bring back your centerpiece of the series. It doesn't get any better though, because then we get the first one in the series that just, oh my god, it just gave me real bad anxiety. Not anxiety.
So 2 loses Vin Diesel, and then 3 they're like, you know what? Not only do we not need Vin Diesel, we also don't need anybody. Like, we literally just can start all over again.
Yeah, it's the reboot
with brand new people that nobody has any relationship or care for.
Yeah,
and just an absolutely horrible lead. Like, one of the least likable lead character. Like, if you didn't like the lead in Fast and Furious,
right?
Like Tokyo, that kid, the high schooler, the American high schooler in Tokyo that is out of his world, and he just wants to race cars. Go eat poop. Like, seriously, you just suck. Just stop.
Yeah,
like you're not a victim here. Stop it.
This was the one that I remember when it came out into the theater, and I was watching I would see trailers and stuff. I was like, come on, like this is where this should have become like a straight to video kind of thing, right?
Absolutely.
There's absolutely nothing endearing about Lucas Black as the lead in this film,
right?
But again, we continue to see again, the common thread through all these films is that there are some fantastic driving sequences. And throughout the course of these first 3 films,
yes,
it is purely about, and when I say purely, I mean this is what drives the narrative.
At least they're sticking to a thing.
Yes, it's purely about the racing, regardless of the circumstances and storyline and so forth. It really becomes a situation where the driving is what keeps this franchise alive. But by Tokyo Drift, which, if I remember correctly, I forget the box office, but how is it still alive? People would say,
right?
After this film, because it isn't until the 4th film where you start to get a return to where the original one would have picked up,
right? And by the way, it's the 4th one is the first one that I give a higher than a 1.5 stars in my Letterboxd. It gets 2 stars. So I'm at least like, okay, well, this wasn't irredeemably bad.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the first one that kind of takes us back in time, and it creates one of the to some people endearing qualities of these films is that you start to introduce characters that there's this sort of like back and forth with them, and
right.
People
But the
die, they
problem
don't really
with
die.
it,
It's the comic book aspect of it.
the problem with it though is it's really the first one that is just filled with phony tension. It's just,
Good point.
So at least in the first three, like there's really no, it is what it is. There is no phony tension. They're not trying to build up anything. Whereas in the fourth one, you get the idea that they are trying to build up phony tension. But also, you also get the idea that they're actually trying to build something, which is admirable, because the first three were definitely not trying to build anything. Like they were standalone Drek that refused to acknowledge that there was anything that came before them, or any reason for any of these characters to be doing anything. Right. Whereas this one was at least like, okay, these characters actually do have to do something, so yeah.
It is the beginning, and it's funny, it's kind of fun to imagine that it isn't until this is 4 movies in, which makes a total of 7 films from 4 to now,
right,
where it's like, okay, they're going to play with this whole family thing,
right?
Okay. There is kind of that unique end where Dom is finally, boarding the prison bus, and it's one of the first ones that has that sort of cliffhanger-ish approach where there's going to be a 5th. We're now in that realm of the series knowing it's an ongoing franchise, and so we're going to leave you at the end of the film with something to look forward to for next time.
Right. And what they leave you looking forward to is actually the first genuinely good movie. Like 5 is a genuinely good movie. Like,
right.
It's basically a heist movie, and it's ridiculous, but not overly complex, and the stakes are not. So this is where the stakes turn. This is the last one where the stakes are like reasonable, even though before I would say, look, Brian just keep trying to break Dom out of jail, or Brian keep being obsessed with Dom is absurd. But at least here, like, it's just like, look, they're trying to evade the law, and they're gonna rob, like, for the first time, this group of criminals are going to actually do something that isn't just about them breaking the law because fuck the law. It's just like, okay, they're going to steal from a genuinely bad person for the first time. Like, that it took them 5 movies to figure out, hey, maybe they should be stealing from genuinely bad people to make them endearing on some level. It's mystifying why it took that long, but here we are. They found it. Bravo. The safe being pulled by a single car is absurd, but that's
it introduces the character of Luke Hobbs, and this is going to begin the process that we're going to see repeated film after film, where some form of antagonist becomes in the next film an ally, which is one of the things that, while initially kind of cool, the further it went on, the more it pissed me off. And we're going to get to that.
Right.
And so the centerpiece action sequence of this, like you said, is the vault. And flash forward to now, it gives us what the callback is in 10.
Right.
For what that story is going to be, which... Okay, cool.
But after making 9, so here's the problem. This is the problem they had with 9, which, just to skip ahead a little bit, 9 was probably it was definitely my least favorite movie going experience as a full adult.
Oh, okay.
And one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
And I said that when we did our review of 9. I didn't have any fun in the theater in 9 at all. I was just mad that I was there because of how dumb it was and how dumb it assumed all the audience was.
Right.
So, and also it had John Cena. And so if you're going to come from that place, and by the way, a lot of people didn't like 9. Like I wasn't alone. You know, like a lot of people who they actually would want to like the movies didn't like 9. You going back to the high watermark from a pure film rating standpoint isn't a bad idea. Okay. So looking ahead a little bit, I don't blame them. I don't blame them for being like, you know what, let's see if we can capture a little bit of 5.
I completely, I do get that. 5, again, springboards us forward. And again, now we've, it's like you said, it's transformed into this sort of heist based series now.
High stakes.
Yeah. And we get to the 6th installment of the series, which is going to be simply titled Fast and Furious 6.
Right.
And so,
here, and this one's not, by the way, this one's not terrible either. It's not. It's not good,
right?
But it's not terrible. This is where I feel like it becomes the standard action flick from the past 20 years,
right? Because now, even further, you're starting to create this group of super agents, so to speak,
right?
Because they now they receive pardons for their crimes, and now hey, you're going to come to work for us, and it introduces this whole notion of you know, that organization that Hobbs is working for, right? They become an arm of that. The agency. Thank you. And so it's like, again, not a bad film, great action, sequences get bigger and bigger, and we it has become what it is destined to be, which is this ridiculously huge action piece,
right?
That from now forward feels the need to completely outdo itself every single time, and any pretense of quality story, dialogue, or anything else is out the window.
And any idea that these people are acting in any sort of reality motivations based on reality are out the window also. You know, we are now, for whatever reason, somebody has deemed them otherworldly and they should be treated as such. Fine, whatever, you know, but
it's now become comic book fodder, you know, in terms of if you had a source material, you would be looking for comic books that this is all pulled from.
Right.
And so and then we start to get mid-credit scenes that are calling back to previous movies and dealing with, you know, characters that we've seen in the past, and the death of a favorite that then sets up the antagonist in what is good. I can't even call them villains because of what this fucking series does to these characters.
No, it turns them into good guys.
The antagonist
everybody's a good guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is simply called, go ahead.
No, Furious 7.
Furious 7.
By the way, the best bad guy. Like, let's not. The opening scene in this movie is A+++. Like,
absolutely.
The opening scene of this movie is A+++, and it goes downhill from there. But at least because the opening is so good, and Jason Statham is an amazing villain.
Absolutely.
Like, just an absolutely amazing villain.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I keep, the reason I maintain hope over the years as I started to watch these films was because you would give us someone like a Jason Statham, you know, this you know, Deckard Shaw character,
right?
And I'm like, oh God, you could really get some mileage out of this, you know? And over the course of the film, you know, there's some dastardly things happening, and you know, characters are introduced, and then, you know, things are, you know, all leading to some big sort of heist-based chase action sequence. And then, it's that pattern of things will end a certain way. and yeah, this was also the first one. Am I right? After we lost Paul,
no,
Walker, or was that before?
Paul Walker is definitely in this one still. Yeah,
but there's a sequence at the end that by the time it was released, wasn't he already passed?
Yeah, that is correct, because this is where they have to put him into hiding,
right?
And they had filmed that, like that was part of this movie. Was okay, he needs to go into hiding,
right.
And then because then the sister was gone in the 8th one,
right,
just out completely, and then in the 9th one they were like, oh wait, we can bring the sister back. She doesn't need to be in hiding with Paul. We can, or Brian is the character's name.
Brian,
we can bring her back. And like just another in a long line of inexplicable. Why the fuck are we bringing these people back?
Right.
But we're not there yet.
The thing about 7 for me is that it's one of the installments that I can't readily recall, like the plot or the sequence.
Oh, I have
attached. It doesn't have a memorable stance.
The plot is out of my brain, other than Jason Statham is getting revenge
for his brother. Yeah.
For his brother, and he's a really good villain. Like that.
Yeah. There's nothing that ends up being memorable about this film other than a great character that was introduced, and and then the series keeps going. And so we get to
oddly enough, I'm looking at my review for 8, and I didn't hate 8. Interesting.
Yeah, The Fate of the Furious releases in 2017.
I remember why, because there was an airplane scene. I'm such a sucker for airplane. I should probably rewatch this one to see if I actually do not hate it, because I feel like I probably would hate it, but Sergio, you put me on an airplane and you give me the threat of an airplane crash, and I'm just in.
You're in.
Damn it.
I know that. I understand that. When it comes to this film, this is also where we see that there has now been a reunion of Dom and Letty, who was thought to be dead prior. That, again, we're seeing these comic book elements of the returning character from the dead, that kind of thing. And they're continuing to be part of the agency. And we're continuing to see Luke Hobbs and
Shaw is now a good guy. So this is just once again, the bad guy from the prior movie is a good guy. But the good news is this movie introduces a bad guy who kidnaps Dom's kid, and so she could never be a good guy. Hashtag spoiler alert.
Jeez Louise.
Okay.
And these casts get bigger and bigger, and more people are introduced into them because they want to be part of the fun. So that's where we get
Charlize Theron as the bad
Charlize Theron. Kurt Russell makes his first appearance as Mr. Nobody.
Was this Kurt Russell's first appearance? I thought he was in the last one.
No, his character is introduced in this particular film.
Okay.
But again, it's very minimal.
I mean, he plays he plays what was the Bosley and from Charlie's Angels.
Yeah, exactly.
Kurt Russell was in 7. Kurt Russell was in 7.
Right, but isn't there a recall to him in 8 as well?
Yeah, he starts as soon as he shows up. He shows up.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Oh, you're saying that he was introduced before. Got it. Got it. Okay. Yeah, and so, bigger and bigger.
Yeah. See,
it's
hard to remember what's going on with these.
It really does, because it all sort of blends together.
Yeah.
And you can't help but go, I'm sure the action sequences were amazing, but I'm so turned off by the storyline of it all, that it's like, okay, great. This is pure. I can't go into it with any sort of seriousness.
This is the downside to be making a puerile movie. The kind of movie that you just quote unquote turn your brain off. Like, oh, why can't you enjoy a movie that you can turn your brain off? Well, because I'm not going to remember a damn thing about it.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
It's like driving on driving all day from Miami to New Orleans. I'm not going to remember a single second of that drive, because I had to turn my brain off.
It's the film that makes you think there's no way they can top a nuclear submarine being involved in stuff.
Wow.
And then we get 9.
Yeah.
And again, go ahead.
Just literally the worst movie ever. Like, just unwatchably bad. And for some reason, Helen Mirren decides to throw her hat into it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And I don't get it. And I don't understand why we're now just okay, so let's just take a pause for a second and realize that the parody of the Fast and Furious movies is this idea of family that doesn't actually start showing up until I think 6 or whatever.
6 or 7, yeah. 6. Okay. So but then it really gets
the idea of family being the most important thing. But Dom has a brother that he's never talked about. Right. It's like really. No. So we're talking about family, but Dom has a brother that he's not trying to reach out to and reconnect with, and let's just go fuck yourselves, people.
Yeah, and I here's the thing. So when we reviewed this movie, if I remember correctly, I leaned into I enjoyed it because it was a great action film.
It wasn't.
And upon rewatch, yes, I watched it again.
Okay.
With different eyes, I was like, this opening sequence does nothing to justify where we end up with Jacob and this supposed notion he has that that makes him a villain and has to come after. I'm like, no. It didn't make sense. And if it did make sense the first time around, it's because I was just knowing that this was going to be big action.
Yeah,
but it's a weak rewatch.
I believe you. I would never watch this again in my life.
Yeah, no, of course.
I hated it so much.
Yeah.
I hate this. Like, I have an unhealthy amount of vitriol for this movie. Like, just it is the most base form of entertainment.
Yeah.
Ever. And it's inexcusably bad. It's inexcusably bad. The things that they're trying to do are inexcusably stupid.
Yeah.
The reason why they have to do them is inexcusably unexplained.
Right.
And it's just all bad. It's all 100% bad. There's nothing redeemable about this movie. And that's my final judgment on it.
Yeah, it's one of the only movies that carries a villain twice without redeeming them. Charlize Theron,
right?
And portrays John Cena's Jacob character as this dark, like intense villain
until he's not anymore.
So that when you get to 10, you're like, no, shut the fuck up. Dude, can we get to Fast 10? Because
okay, so we're there. We're there. So my first question before we dive too deep in,
okay,
because I don't remember at the end of 9, had John Cena not started his redemption plot line yet? Had they not done a redemption thing for John Cena?
I'm trying.
I feel
remember.
like
let me look.
They had to have. Like at the very, very end, it was like, oh, family wins out. Because family is so important.
Let's see. Yeah, I think there's a point. Hold on. Before blah 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 blah. He gets captured about 2/3 of the way through the movie, maybe a little later. Mm-hmm. And gosh,
it's all stupid. It doesn't.
I know, but I want to. Give me just a second. Right. Dom and Mir. Yeah, it's toward the end,
right? It's
because he has that moment of like, okay, yeah, you better go.
Yeah. And right, that's exactly what it is. It's like he has an opportunity to kill him, but instead he lets him go.
And the again, we go back to the opening sequence where the grudge between the brothers has been not Jacob holding a grudge against Dom, which makes this even stupider, is that Dom is like, well, I finally forgive you for killing our dad. The kind of thing. It's like it was like, I can't believe I even enjoy this to any level. So then
I couldn't either.
We go to the the most recent installment released
Right.
this past week.
Right.
Fast X.
Right.
Fast X.
Yep.
And it's now that I'm going to go ahead and do this.
By the way, I just gonna skip to the end. I did not hate this movie as much as I hated 9. Like, there were aspects of this that I actually did enjoy, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Okay, but okay. All right. I'm glad.
Not that I thought it was a good movie.
No, it's not. It's
not.
It's garbage.
It is garbage. It's still garbage. So, okay. What do we want to do, the good first, or do we want to do the bad first?
I want to first start with saying that what the hell have you done to Jacob's character? You just go so on the other end of the spectrum because you need some sort of interaction with this cute kid that brought nothing. I don't know why I'm looking for story, Paul. Like, why am I looking for story at all?
Well, the curious thing is that everybody just kind of forgets that he was the impetus for making them have to go to space.
Right.
And it's just like, oh no, he's family, so we're good. Fucking Rita Moreno.
Why is she in this movie? What is the point?
Why are we introducing more of Dom's family that has never been even remotely important to him before?
For how long, even?
Yeah.
How long is she in this film?
5 minutes.
But
I think the only justification I can come up with for Rita Moreno in this movie is that they needed somebody other than all the characters we already know to say the word family about 20 times.
Oh my God.
Because they thought it would just be too dumb to have the current characters to say family any more than they already do. But they just needed it. They needed to get family in there about 20 more times. And I know that the people who like this movie snicker at it and say, oh, this is why I love this movie. But it's like, no, it's stupid. Oh, you just don't get it. No, I get it, and it's still fucking stupid.
Yeah, there's something about the heavy-handed nature. This is why I said at the beginning, this movie, whether I if it's accidental parody, okay, fine, yeah. But if it's purposeful, then fuck you.
It's 100% purposeful,
and it pissed me off.
Okay.
Oh, good. That's why I messaged you literally mid-movie. I was like, this is killing me.
I know.
But I couldn't pull away. Like,
no.
And I couldn't pull away.
Yeah.
Because of one Jason Momoa.
Fucking Jason Momoa.
Fucking
now,
hell, this is the only thing about this film and its action sequences.
Okay. I have a comment on the action sequences, but we'll get to that.
Okay, cool.
Jason Momoa. I still think Statham is a better villain in the movie because it makes like what he's doing is but because what he's doing is just straight up like, I'm a bad guy and I'm singularly motivated and I'm doing this thing. Whereas Jason Momoa has clearly been given notes from about 10 different people and he's trying to work with all of those notes. Now, here's my question. Okay, here's my question. Do you think they filmed the Brazil scenes first and then somebody came to Jason Momoa and say, Jason, you're leaning into the ambiguously gay aspects of this character a little too much and we need you to pull it back? Or did they film all the other scenes first and then say, okay, now Jason, before we do these Brazil scenes, we decided we want to add another character aspect to this character. And if you could just make him ambiguously gay, that would be a lot of fun.
There was,
because he's only ambiguously gay in the middle of the movie when he's in Rio, because the entire rest of the movie, he is not remotely ambiguously gay.
No, there's a big difference.
Yeah.
And not only that, but
it's amazing. It's so amazing.
It's the most entertaining aspect of this film.
Yeah, I was genuinely entertained by Jason Momoa.
Absolutely. Yeah,
100%. Which is why it's better than 10. Which is why it's better than 9. Because I was not entertained by anything that happened in 9.
Right.
The other thing that was entertaining in 10 is John Cena might have died, although we all know he did. But at least I can think, oh, good, he's dead. And I'll get to be really mad in the next one when he comes back to life. But that's a whole other thing.
Don't even start with me. If that happens, I'll walk out. You can't give him a glorious death like that and then be like, oh, not really. Although we have this plane crash at the end to deal with.
Nobody's dead in that plane. Nobody.
Of course not. No, because as soon as it turned.
Yeah, they bailed. Like as soon as they went behind the mountain, they bailed.
Something happened. Yeah, exactly.
And as soon as like John Cena's car jumped over the other cars, something happened.
There's something we missed. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but
the thing that stood out to me about this film, back to Momoa for just a quick second, is the absolute abandon with which he played this role.
Yeah.
Someone said we need some sort of Joker type role here, and I need you to just go crazy with it, and he did. To his credit, fun. Hilarious.
They told him to have fun.
Yeah,
he had fun,
but
and then at some point they either said you need to have more fun, be ambiguously gay, or you need to have a little less fun, don't be quite so ambiguously gay. And then so he changed that, but
right. But the other thing that I was going to comment in terms of his performance is that this character is one of the first times in the franchise where you realize, oh, this shit, like this is serious. This is not gonna This is not a character that God damn it. If you redeem him somehow.
They redeemed Charlize Theron.
Kind of. We're getting there. We're getting there, and I'm still pissed about that because I'm like, God, please, just somebody stay a villain. How do you?
And so they introduced another new character in addition to Rita Moreno and Jason Momoa. They introduced a guy who looked like a wrestler, and I went to his IMDb page, and it turned out he wasn't a wrestler.
Who is this guy, and what is this character?
He is as bad, if not worse, actor than John Cena. So
you want to talk about? Go ahead.
Bravo to this guy for being just a terrible actor. So he played one of the random people in one of the Hunger Games, like one of the other like tributes in one of the Hunger Games movies. And he's done voice work. He's terrible. Like
he's horrible.
He makes John, like, I wish he and John Cena had scenes together so John Cena would seem like a halfway believable actor.
But here's the thing. Not only do you have this character, I mean, this actor that is so bad, his performance reveals in such a glaring way how horrible this script is.
Yeah.
The shit he's made to say.
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I watching?
And this is why the self-parody was real.
Yeah.
Because he does the I'm a quote, I'm somebody who's trying to catch Dom, who is lured into his thing, and I'm going to make a joke about I'm not going to be one of the law enforcement people that you lure into your wily ways, Dom Toretto, until he is lured into his wily ways no, actually I am actually a bad guy.
Right. Well, and when he reveals that he actually is a bad guy, there is one line that I was like, fuck it. Okay, I'll take that. When he says, I'm not one of those guys that's going to end up being redeemed. That line was one of the only moments where I was like, fuck, okay,
that's why
it.
That's why it's self-aware.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the number of times it's happened is stupid.
Right.
It's just stupid.
And again, it's one of those things where if this didn't have the amazing action sequences it had, if it didn't have Jason Momoa, I would have been even further infuriated to have wasted time on this movie because there are such cringy moments when we introduce also the sister of, I think her name was Elena, right? Who used to be with Dom. She was an agent, yada yada. That sequence where the two of them are talking and he gets all teary-eyed when he's talking about Brian, I'm like, fuck you, shut up.
Oh,
I can't tell you, Paul, how many times I watched this movie, and while watching, I was like, no, fuck, no.
Or how about we're introduced to Brie Larson's character as the daughter of nobody for 5 minutes? Who cares? Like, seriously, who cares? And how about the belief that anybody wants to see Helen Mirren again? you know, but Helen literally pops in for 2 minutes to say something profound to
about
quote
family.
unquote profound to Dom for no reason. And her scene has no point in the movie, but that's okay. And how about the scene where they bring Jason Statham back?
Yeah,
which
and then
he's in there for 5 minutes, but you would think he's the like 4th most important person in the movie based on this. And then
he's got to go save mom, and so it's like, what is happening here?
What is happening here?
It is just like, so.
What are we doing? Like, seriously, what are we doing? And then in the final act of the movie, we are given the single worst quote unquote stunt to ever appear in a movie. And by the way, okay, so let's just be clear. I hated Fast 9 and I thought all of the action sequence sucked.
Okay.
Fast X, at least there was a racing scene. Like, I will give Fast X this also. Hey, they're racing again.
Right.
That's mildly interesting. Okay. But let's ignore the fact that Dom manages to wreck another car and wipe but and in doing so knew exactly all the physics on how to have a bomb removed from that car that's laying on the undercarriage of the car.
Yeah, so many bombs.
Fuck you. So, but we're in the third act of the movie. Dom, who is teaching his 12-year-old how to not just drive, but 10. How to stunt drive. 10-year-old. No, I thought he was 12. I'm pretty sure.
Too young.
What's that?
Too young.
Way too young. Well, way too young to be driving, but not just
the way
driving,
he was driving,
but stunt driving. Like, so Dom's not teaching his 12-year-old how to drive. He's teaching his 12-year-old how to stunt drive. And you know, his son, who is an amazing stunt driver, doesn't quite do one thing well and feels bad about it because I didn't do this one. By the way, you're watching the movie. I have no idea that he didn't do one thing well, but apparently he did. So he feels bad about it. And Dom says, well, don't worry, son. You just learn, you just get one with the car and you'll fly. And fucking Dom, they're driving. So the kid gets, because John Cena is a fucking idiot, the kid gets pulled into the car with Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
Dom catches up to them while driving backwards.
Right.
Dom. Jason Momoa allows Dom to continue to drive next to him while driving backwards.
Right.
Dom. And then Dom says to his son over a walkie-talkie, not like directly because, you know, that would be dumb. Right. Over a walkie-talkie, remember, son, be the car and fly. And they show the kid jump out of one car into another car because that's what his father wants him to do. I am a father. Dom Toretto is the shittiest fucking father in the history of anything. And the special effects on this scene are Matrix Reloaded bad.
Okay, yeah.
You know, where during the stupid Smiths versus Neo battle scene where they do the Matrix cam, but it's all computer generated. It's like the effects are as bad as that. Yeah. And and that's why I say quote unquote stunt, because there's no stunt work involved. It's purely computer generated.
Computer generated, yeah.
And it's just the concept of what's happening at this moment in the movie is fucking stupid.
Oh, absolutely.
It's
I can't disagree.
I hated it.
It almost makes you like the final Hoover Dam sequence. And I'm kidding.
It did make me like the final Hoover Dam sequence because at least Jason Momoa is doing something that makes sense.
One of the things that I will say that I'm reaching here to try to give this some sort of compliment.
Okay.
I loved that, knowing that this was going to go to a sequel.
Yeah.
It felt like the way they set up the end of the film to create this curiosity for what the next film will, how will you resolve these scenarios?
Phony tension. Let's call it what it is. Yeah.
Harkened back to sort of the old timey like cliffhanger serials, because they left you in a place where it wasn't just like, it's not just thought of you see where he is and where his son is, and what's about to happen, and then boom, it's done. There is something about how they set up this particular cliffhanger that I was like, okay, that's kind of cool.
No,
but
it's
I'm mad that I have to fucking do this shit again in 2 years.
Now here's the other problem.
It was such a bad film.
It's so bad. But here's the other problem is that it's not even a cliffhanger. And here's why. Because there is absolutely no real
I see. I know what you're going to say.
Anybody.
Yeah.
So
they're going to get out of it.
The idea of a cliffhanger is you don't know what's coming next.
Right.
But the reality is we know exactly what's coming next.
It's going to be some sort. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Because why would you create a new film otherwise, a second film otherwise?
So it's not a cliffhanger. Like I was trying to think of an actual good term other than cliffhanger, and I think it's called maybe a puddle drowning, where somebody's like literally drowning in a rain puddle, like splashing around in a rain puddle.
Yeah.
Save me, I'm drowning. And it's like, no, and you can't even call it a kiddie pool, because kiddie pools can actually be dangerous in the right situation. A puddle cannot be dangerous. If you're a human being, you can't just drown in something less than an inch deep.
Right.
Can't do it. And that's what's happening here is that they're in water that's less than an inch deep, and we're supposed to be what?
Yeah.
The only thing that you can feel is if you are stupid enough to buy into these movies being anything other than trash, you're not nervous for them. You're excited to see how stupid the next movie is.
Sure.
And you're just like, I can't wait to see how they out-stupid themselves.
I felt like so much of this movie was trying to make up for some of the absolute bullshit of F9, which was, I mean, come on, why are we in space?
Which they do.
It's to some degree.
To some degree, they do.
I think we've already wasted way too much time on this film.
Yes. But there were things I wanted to say, and I got
of course, no doubt. I'm not in any way faulting us for wanting to say, because I had to get this shit off my chest too.
Yeah.
I'm Paul.
Yeah.
I hated this film.
I know. And you're going to hate me, but I'm going to tell you add guac to that one taco.
Okay.
Because Jason Momoa deserves the guac.
Okay. I'll take the guac on that. Yeah.
Yeah. The guac
was the reason I gave it a taco.
Yeah. Okay. He's the reason why I'm giving it guac. Just because you would think there's no way up. There's nowhere to go but up after the worst movie I've ever seen. But I genuinely expected this movie to be worse. Genuinely expected. And while I was livid with that one action sequence that I just told you about,
sure,
I really genuinely enjoyed every second that they were in Rio de Janeiro, except until it became clear that the person that he was talking to was the sister. Like you said, there was if they were in Rio for about 40 minutes, there was a 30 to 35 minute period where I was like, oh, this is actually kind of fun.
Yeah. The one thing though that stood out to me about that portion of the film.
Yeah.
There was some very careless work done in terms of trying to hide the fact that we're on a soundstage.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah.
There was one particular sequence where I'm like, we are not on the ground. We are in a soundstage, and it's so bad. So it's
I don't remember. Oh, that's okay.
It was in the Rio de Janeiro sequence, and it's just there's a distinct difference in the setting. Where you're like, why am I noticing?
I thought it was just the fact that they never actually show any real see, that's the wonderful thing is because they know that they're not anywhere near where they're supposed to be, they can't show any actual real landmarks.
Yeah.
It all just has to be vaguely like Rome, and it all has to just basically be vaguely like Rio. And it's like, oh, come on, stop.
No, absolutely. They're putting so much money into all this CGI stuff that it's like, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
All right. Well, there you go. That is our look at Fast 10 and the Fast and the Furious franchise.
The Bourne movies, you are not Fast and Furious.
Thank you. Yeah. Nor are you Marvel with your mid-credit scenes that bring back an actor who swore he'd never be back in this series. And here he is, set up for the next one. So,
oh, wait. Was there an end credit scene in this one? Because I walked out as soon as the credits.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. There was a mid-credit scene.
Okay, tell me what happened. Spoiler alert.
So the scene is a bunch of like commando type guys, and they have like their faces are covered with masks, and they have helmets, all in black, very dark. And they come into this building, and they run out of this building, and nothing fucking happens. And this phone rings, and this one commando dude stops. He's again all covered up in the shadows. He picks up the phone, and it's Momoa, and he's threatening him, the person we see.
Okay.
And the guy removes his mask and helmet, and it's
The Rock.
Luke Hobbs. We're back to Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And not only is it poorly done, not only am I sitting here going, but you swore you'd never do this, fucker. Third, he says a line that's like, you've just, in a sense, you've emasculated Momoa's character, because you gave the line you gave him to respond back to this threat is like, you're going to set up something that this is going to be one of the reasons why Momoa will be bested. And it's like, how do you make me sit through this kind of movie, and you create this pretty fantastic villain,
right?
And then because The Rock can't be, Dwayne Johnson can't, be intimidated.
Yeah,
he has to say something just as threatening back, and I'm like, no, fuck you, I'm walking out. So 2025, Paul.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be 55, dude, when I have to watch this crap.
You're gonna still be. I'll be 50. I'll be 51. So,
wow.
Yep.
Maybe this will be the one that I'll fly out to you. We'll go together.
What are we
You're like,
doing?
this one?
We're 50 years old and we're doing this shit. All right.
Yeah, please have me back for this one.
Yeah.
No. All right. So there you go. Wow. We've already done almost an hour, and I thought for sure this was going to be shorter. So
there's a lot to talk about with this shit.
Oh, yeah. No, in fact, I don't even think we cared about spoilers. So. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to your segment this week, because you almost got me sucked in. And then I was like, I can't do this. This is just so bizarre. It's What the Hell Did I Just Watch time here. Paul, you invited me to join you on this one, and I tried, and then I'm like, no, I'll leave Paul in his wheelhouse.
All right. Well, so I'm going to read the...
Peter O'Toole.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, shit. Okay. Retry. My IMDb isn't working. God damn it. Hold on. Now I gotta go to because I gotta read the snippet for the movie.
Sure.
Shit. Ruling Class movie. I'm sorry, this is wonderful podcasting. All right. The Ruling Class this is the Wikipedia, so I don't know how that's going to be. Tells a story of a paranoid schizophrenic British nobleman who inherits a peerage, which is just his father's thing. Oh shit! It doesn't go into the awesomeness of it. Okay, Peter O'Toole is the son of a nobleman in England, a highly respected nobleman in England, who is persona non grata within his house. But his father unexpectedly dies. By the way, his father unexpectedly dies wearing a tutu due to auto asphyxiation,
of course,
and autoerotic asphyxiation. While wearing a tutu, and Peter O'Toole turns out is his father or his son, who is delusional and thinks he's Jesus Christ.
Right,
and that's all you need to know about this movie. The movie poster does a pretty good job too. So. This is for an hour and a half. It's a 2.5 hour movie. This is an absolutely brilliant send up of British nobility and the intertwining of nobility and the church.
Right.
Just in the sense of two organizations within British society that are just filleting each other nonstop, like, literally just like absolutely enabling themselves to be quote unquote the ruling class. I mean, the title of the movie, and it's hilarious for an hour. It is just absolutely hilarious for an hour watching Peter O'Toole explain why he's Jesus. There is a line where one of the people asks him, so why do you think you're Jesus? And he's like, well, because every time I would pray, I would find that I'm just talking to myself. And that's a great fucking line.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's a great fucking line. And there's just a lot of really smart wordplay throughout the first hour of this movie. And then the next half hour, which is basically, you know, the second half of Act 2, it gets pretty serious, and it gets into some pretty serious, like, you know, how do you resolve mental, like how do you actually resolve these, you know, help people resolve these mental fixations that they have, and get beyond their illnesses, and
Right.
it gets into a little bit of that, and then he cures himself, and it turns weird. This is where it actually turned, like, the last hour, it gets really weird. But if you're paying attention during that middle 30 minutes, you know
Yeah.
exactly where this movie is going. And I regretted it. Like, and the problem is that it flips. It does a perfect 180-degree flip, which
Yeah.
is completely understandable, in that he turns from believing he's Jesus to turning into the devil.
Right.
And literally, like, you know, it's just like, you know, there's a scene very early in Act 3 where you know, he because he's been cleared of being schizophrenic, he's ready to take his father's seat in the House of Lords. And the precursor scene to him arriving is a bunch of the nobles speaking amongst each other and saying, do we really think he's ready to do this? Do we really think he is? And this is before we've really seen him, quote unquote, cured yet.
Right.
And he walks in, and the other nobles look over and say, speak of the devil. And it's like, really, we need to be that ham-handed about what's about to happen. So, and like, it turns, like, the character's name is Jack, and so he basically turns into Jack the Ripper. And it's just like, it's like I kind of, the first hour is so whimsical and smart. I didn't need the second half to be cynical and smart. Like, you know, and because there's a certain charm to the whimsy, and there's just no charm to the cynicism.
Gotcha.
And that's really where it is. But it's made in 1972. It's an absolutely bonkers fucking movie.
Yeah.
Like, and you'll attest to that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no. And we said this before we came on, and that is that Peter O'Toole's filmography is known for certain things, but boy, he's got some of these in there.
Yeah.
Snuck in there. So he's something else in this film. The hour that I watched or so.
Yeah.
So
you watched the good hour. Like, I genuinely, like, I was and I sent you the, hey, this is the movie I'm doing if you're interested, about 20 minutes in, because, like, I was really enjoying myself.
Gotcha.
Like, I just thought it was so smart and subtle, but, like, obvious. I loved the interplay of all the characters, and the double entendres that were being thrown left and right and front and center nonstop. That was just a lot of fun to me. And then, like, the last hour just lacks that sort of.
It didn't carry through.
Yeah, it just like I said, it turned cynical, and that's all right. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's But no, so again, I appreciate you inviting me for that one. I caught what I could, and I was like, okay.
I'm surprised that's where you bailed, but that's okay.
All right. Well, week to week, you can figure out what kind of cool stuff Paul is watching as we visit him every week for What the Hell Did I Just Watch? So thank you, Paul, as always, for bringing us cool stuff.
For sure.
And for the invite. For myself, it's time again for Cinema by Jen. We have a series going here where my wife has picked the films I'm going to watch weekly. And it's been kind of cool because we tend to watch them together. And this week's installment is a movie that I didn't really ever think I had a reason to see. It didn't, fall on my radar when it first came out. But once again, I find myself in a place where I'm like, wow, this was interesting. This was cool. The movie is But I'm a Cheerleader. It's 1999. Natasha Lyonne, one of her earliest films, if I'm not mistaken. And one of those films that when you look at it, there's so much interesting stuff going on. Paul, I don't know if you're familiar or if you've watched it.
So I watched it today. I had not seen, because this was, like you said, just not on my radar at all.
Yeah.
So
very John Waters-esque in terms of its.
You beat me to it. Like, when is a John Waters movie not a John Waters movie? It's when it's But I'm a Cheerleader.
Right.
Yeah,
there were definitely some cues taken from John Waters. Well, But let me tell you something. Come on, RuPaul, this is fantastic. Like the use of the some of the actors in this film. The story is basically the story of one Megan, played by Natasha Lyonne, who is sent to a conversion therapy camp because her parents suspect that she is a lesbian, and it's a movie about self-discovery. It's got some very timely messages even now, this many years later. And I thought it was fun. I thought it was well acted. I thought it was well put together in terms of the message it wanted to give. And overall, I can see why Jen wanted me to watch it, because it does have a certain amount of charm.
It definitely,
that's shown through.
I like the charm. I wish that they had just not tried to be John Waters, because that aspect of it, there's only one John Waters,
right?
And there's it's very difficult to maintain through the length of the movie that's only 85 minutes long
with authenticity.
Right.
And that is, after I watched it, I read some reviews and some stuff on it, and that seems to be the general gripe. Is did you need to make it in this style? It could have been just as effective if you had maintained the story and not tried to add these sort of Waters elements.
Right.
The thing overall that I felt. Oh, go ahead, Paul.
I was going to say, I think the way that you do it, given that the main character doesn't know she's a lesbian up front,
right,
is to have her be a John Waters character and everybody else not.
Got it.
And so, and that plays up it isolates her. It plays up the idea of fish out of water. It plays up the idea that she doesn't really know who she is. That she doesn't fit in where she is, but is finding, is trying to find her voice. And I think that would have been fun. Because I loved the first 15 minutes of oh my God, I'm in a John Waters movie.
Right.
And that, but it actually does the inverse. It has one character not in a John Waters movie. I think it would have been more fun if there is one character that's in a John Waters movie and everybody is not. I think that's the way you go with it.
Gotcha. But, oh, that makes sense.
What do I know? I did like it though. I just want to say I liked it. That's my one complaint would be that.
No, I get it. It was very much the same for me. The Kathy Moriarty, though, I mean, I can't say enough about her. She's whatever she's in.
Yeah,
it's always memorable. Yeah. And when I saw her in the movie as I was watching, I was like, of course, this, and her absolute refusal to believe, the character's refusal to believe as a mother that her own son was, was gay as well. It's
right.
So, and it was such a perfect fit for what the story was. So, yeah, this was a fun movie. I'm really glad that it was on the list, and cool. I'm looking forward to continuing this journey. And Paul, Jawbreaker. So that'll be next
Jawbreaker.
Week. Yep.
Okay, another 2 in a row I haven't seen.
Awesome.
We have to go back to animated after that one.
Though. Yes, we will. We will, because I'm looking at the list and I want to make sure I balance it out to some degree. So. Okay. All right. Well, there you go. We have had some fun this week talking about a whole lot of Fast and the Furious.
Yep.
And don't spend your money on Fast X. Wait till it comes to streaming. But
please don't go. Actually, did you check out the box office? I have no idea.
I haven't. Or I did. I want to say it was 319 million in its first weekend.
You've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, it was a big number. It was a big number.
Oh, but the weekend box wasn't remotely what? No, it wasn't that big. That would have been a worldwide number. It only did 67 domestic.
Oh, so the 319 was combined.
That means
let's see. 67 opening. Okay, got it.
67. I'm going to flat out tell you right now, that's terrible.
Yeah.
That as a domestic number, that's terrible. But the problem is that it just needs to do well in China, and that means it did well in China. And you know what that also means? Transformers is going to just absolutely destroy the Chinese box office because the folks in China love them some Transformers.
Yeah. So
Fast X did almost worse than Guardians did its second week. Like Guardians was 62 its second week.
Okay,
Fast X was 67.
Domestic,
opening week.
Yeah.
Just domestic.
Well, here we go.
I love it. I love it. Fuck that movie.
All right. So what's on the agenda then for next week? I'm looking to see coming soon this week. It will be.
Hold on.
Oh, The Little Mermaid.
Yeah, we got Little Mermaid. Okay, so there's a couple things going on. First, it's Memorial Day weekend. My son's going away to Europe for the week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And let's see here. Where are we? We're in May, not March. Okay, so there's Little Mermaid. And what's the other thing? I think that was
De Niro has a comedy coming out that
I'm not going to see that.
Have no interest in seeing.
Oh, I was gonna try to go see Master Gardener if I have the opportunity.
Yeah, I looked it up. I can't see it. I don't see it in my area. But if you do, bring it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, not a lot happening outside of Little Mermaid, which makes sense.
Okay.
So there you go.
All right.
Fun times.
You know,
all right.
Well, listen. Let's just put it in the books. You don't need to go see that. I can do a RQR on that. We'll figure something out.
Well, yeah, maybe it's time to bring out a roulette, but
let's do it.
Yeah.
You know what we could do? Mega. Listen to this. So do not go see Little Mermaid because you don't want to. Okay. There is, and I don't want you to because you're not going to like it.
It's just not for me.
It's not for you. This is not a movie that's for you.
Right. I won't.
So it's Memorial Day weekend. Let's make it big.
Okay.
We are going to do a roulette and a word salad.
Oh, okay.
Same episode. We'll do a roulette and a word salad. And
I like the sound of that. I like the sound of that. So yeah, it'll be some fun stuff to watch.
Is that okay? But you have to promise me. You have to promise me you're not going to go see Little Mermaid because I don't want to put you through that.
I honestly have no interest.
You have no interest. You're not going to like it, even if it's good.
Yeah, I won't have a lot because none of these live action movies for Disney
they're bad. They're bad. They're not good. You have to be stupid. Like you have to be stupid for Disney the way the Fast people are stupid for Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah,
and you're just not.
This is. I appreciate you understanding that.
Yeah. Please don't go see that
there's
movie.
an audience for it.
It's not for you.
Great. I have nothing in, I have no issue.
If you want to buy a ticket and not go see it just to support the idea of representation,
I would do that. I would do that. That's what I was about to say. I have no issue with the film and the decisions it's made to do. So many people are just talking so much garbage about this film. It's going to be, it's fine. It's not for me.
It's not for you.
It's not for me.
But support little children of color.
Of course. No, indeed. Listen, The Little Mermaid has a very special place in my heart in terms of the animated movie.
Oh,
because
it definitely does. I don't want to ruin a Disney thing.
And that's the thing, because of the memories that I have very specifically with my first niece.
Okay.
We would watch it together. Maybe I'll tell the story next week. And that'll explain why you're doing the review.
Don't do it.
But
don't do it.
Excellent.
Please don't see this movie. I don't want you to have negative feelings towards Little Mermaid. So all right, cool.
I think we're good. All right.
Are we good? We're in agreement on this?
Yes, we are. So Tubi word salad and Netflix roulette. We will flesh out the details and we'll bring it to you next week. So make sure you join us on YouTube and as well Facebook Live.
What's this site that we use for the roulette?
Realgood.com.
That's right. Real good.
/roulette. So we'll do that for Netflix, and then we'll do word salad Tubi. That should be fun. I think it's going to be very, very interesting. So I'll rely on Paul to create the particulars, and together
we'll roll for yourself.
No, I know. Oh, right, I know. But meaning the way we set it up, you're going to explain how we did it when it's time. So Until then, however, we thank you all for joining us, and we thank you for watching and all that fun stuff. Make sure if you're here on YouTube, click on the subscribe button. Make sure you know when our episodes land, as well as Facebook Live, where we have our show. So
I'm trying to point to the subscribe. I think that should be about right.
It's somewhere about there. Yeah, absolutely. So, indeed. All right. Well, thank you all once again. Thank you, Paul, as always. And to the rest of you, we say thank you. You're awesome. You're amazing. And the world's a better place because you are in it. We will see you next week. In the meantime, have